Good morning, everybody. Welcome to PVRN, Puerto Vallarta Real News. I'm your host, Brent Lane, and today is May 27th, 2026. If you're keeping up, it's 10 a.m. Puerto Vallarta time. For those of us just now joining in, good morning to everybody. Of course, we can't leave that out, but today is going to be a little bit different show. I'm going to be addressing some pretty heavy topics, one very heavy topic, and I'm going to try my best to be the neutral PVRN style media person about it, but also try to come in with as much empathy and compassion as possible throughout the show. So with that, you might get a little bit less coffee cam today, maybe a little bit later in the show. But what I really want, good morning, Pam. What I really want is to have an interactive conversation about something that may be on a lot of your minds. Good morning, Karen. I see it's hot and humid up there too, here too, trust me. So definitely good morning to everybody, but because this could be a little bit of a longer show today, I'm going to take as much time to do, the real news reporting as possible today. Good morning to everybody. Good morning. And once again, if you're just now joining in, I'll repeat it one more time that today's show is going to have a little bit less coffee cam, a bit more of a serious note, but definitely looking for some interaction as we as a community are dealing with a few things that have definitely popped up on the international news. So with that, I'm not going to forego or leave behind any of the normal things we do in the morning. Good morning, Renee. I see you. So first of all, let's have a look outside. It's a beautiful day in Puerto Vallarta again, which is amazing. I'll give you a little bit bigger view of that. It's amazing outside, a little bit of clouds, but hot, hot, hot and humid. Speaking of hot and humid, here's our weather report starting with today out till next Tuesday. You might, just on cue, Liza. It's like I queued you up for that. You might notice there's a little change in the weather report. I don't see a lot of rain anymore. It looks like the sun's a little bit scared on Monday, but those afternoon showers that might have kind of rained out our Puerto Vallarta, anniversary, 108th anniversary this weekend, which I've also got some information about that as well. But it looks like Matt saw a little bit of drizzle. Interesting. Okay, I didn't see any of that, but thanks for that information on the weather. And good to see you too as well, Pam. We don't get you on the show that often. Nice to see you. And of course, everybody else who comes every day. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so with that, again, if you're just now joining in, today is going to be a bit of more of an important interactive news show. It's got more of a serious note to it, a little less coffee cam, and it might be a bit longer show as well because I'm trying to give our viewers a little bit more time to get onto the show and get the vibe for what we've got going on today. So with that, let's jump into it. So what's on a lot of people's minds and what's definitely come up in the international and national news over the last, I would say, 48 hours is the story that is, quote unquote, the serial killer. It's a serial killer story of Puerto Vallarta right now. And I don't want to add to that. I don't want to add to the clickbait of nature of the word serial killer, but I do want to, first of all, tell you with this story is presented to you an absolute, complete empathy for them. Good morning. Nice to see you here this morning, Captain Marina. But massive amounts of empathy for these women. I'm not downplaying these murders / femicide, but I also want to make this an open forum during the story where you can share any of your safety tips. And I'll talk about that at the end of the show as well, end of this segment, but what you use to be more safe. And it feels like we're all kind of thinking about that a little bit more right now. So let's just jump into it. So this is obviously a developing story that has gained significant attention over the last 48 hours, especially as international and independent media outlets have heavily picked up on the serial killer narrative. These foreign reports are tracking a highly specific and deeply concerning pattern involving 3 recent investigative files. Now, again, all of my news sources say 3. I saw somebody posted 6 a day ago. I've seen nothing to substantiate that. And I'm not downplaying the three in any way, shape, or form, but I'm just trying to keep things accurate. So while local authorities have explicitly stated there is no formal conclusion that has been reached as of yet, the foreign press is highlighting the distinct possibility of a single repeat offender in these cases, basing their coverage on several unique details that have been shared by the investigators. And so let me show you a slide first of all, so we can follow along. And I'll have to make it big for a second, which means we're going to lose the interactive chat for a minute. And I apologize for that, but I don't think you guys are going to be able to see this very well. But I'll make it big near the end of the story. So the overlapping patterns are really driving these international headlines, in my opinion, and they focus on very distinct operational patterns that are outlined in what I would say is the preliminary forensic reports. First is the demographics and the profile of these. I know it's a little hard to read that slide, and I apologize. I'll give it to you big in just a little bit, but I want to be here talking to you. So all three of the victims discovered over the last few weeks are women. They are estimated to be within the same age bracket, specifically between 30 to 35 years old. Second thing they're identifying, again in the slide as well, are the physical markers on these women. Investigators did note that each of the three victims had multiple prominent tattoos. These days I'm not sure how unusual, out of the ordinary that is, but that is something to keep in mind. And third is the condition and the recovery sites. All three bodies were discovered by authorities in a similar state of partial undress. And furthermore, the locations where they were found follow a geographic loop on the rural outskirts or lesser traveled roads out and about the municipality. So to look more closely at the timeline and to be as factual as possible, the first body was discovered on May 10th near Rancho El Pirule in the Chimborazo area. Okay, these are a little bit hard for me to pronounce. They're a bit rural. The second was located in mid-May at a roadside transit stop along the highway leading to Mismaloya. And the third was found on May 21st on an isolated dirt road near the Parque Las Palmas neighborhood, which is just off the Camino Viejo Mojonera. Okay, again, apologize if I'm not nailing that, but Mojonera area. Because none of these victims were initially identified by local relatives, international reporters are using this lack of local connections alongside the highly specific physical descriptions, such as these distinctive tattoos on the latest victims, to piece together a broader narrative of an outside transient predator. Okay. Good morning to you. See you there, Dan. However, the reality of this investigation remains much more nuanced than these immediate high traffic headlines might suggest. Okay. The state prosecutor's office, which is the Fiscalía Especial Regional de Distrito 8, is actively comparing forensic evidence, cross-referencing local C4 surveillance timelines, and running DNA profiling to see if these cases are physically linked. Now, this is a big process. It's a long process. It even takes a long time in like USA, Canada. So again, the lack of information being put out from the government isn't that unusual in these type of cases. This is normal, and it might be just a little bit slower here as well. But they have strictly cautioned, again, these are their words, that they are exploring all lines of inquiry. This includes the distinct possibility that the victims may have been targeted elsewhere and their bodies dropped in these locations, or that these crimes, again, they are terrible, but they're completely distinct coincidences. Nothing in this story is to downplay that. These families deserve, and these victims deserve all the compassion we have and seriousness. But for now, the serial offender theory, this is their words, is a major active line of police investigation, but it remains an unconfirmed hypothesis rather than established legal fact, no matter what you're reading out there on social media or what you're reading on the international press. So, in a broader scope, and maybe this is more my commentary side of it, and of course I had discussions with Laura this morning about this as well, this is not really a local Mexico problem. There are bad people everywhere. But if we get honest and we strip away at what a lot of people consider to be clickbait, here's the honest, responsible read on where things stand right now, in my humble opinion. There is absolutely enough of a pattern regarding the time window, the victim profile, and the condition of the bodies and the locations that authorities are completely right to explore the serial offender hypothesis. However, there is simply not enough hard evidence yet to reasonably establish that as an established fact that Puerto Vallarta has a serial killer. It's just not there yet. The real and deeply critical news story at this exact moment is that there are 3 women that have been killed in a similar circumstance in less than 2 weeks, and a serious open investigation is underway into whether these cases are linked, and the situation brings, necessary scrutiny on how authorities handle violence, and especially right now, which has been publicized a lot, violence against women. We saw that 50+1 march this last week, which was specifically against femicide, and it's a real problem. And it does closely tie and weave into the narrative of this story. Now, here's where I'm talking to you, live viewers who are watching this on replay. Put your comments in the bottom. Thank you, Jordan, as well. But now it's time where we talk a little bit, and feel free to type throughout the show, because I'm going to keep moving. This isn't going to be the entire show. And if you're a first-time viewer, our show isn't all just serious news all the time, but today's a serious news day. So my first question for you is, do you feel there has been more crime since February 22nd here? Or do you feel like there's been more reporting on crime since we're under more of a microscope, or a little bit of both? Think about that. I'd love to see your comments up there. Let's debate. Let's talk about it a little bit. Again, do you feel there's been more crime since 2/22, February 22nd, or just more reporting because we're under the microscope? Secondly, I would ask you, for those that have seen this on CNN, national news, Fox News, whatever you may watch out there, what are your thoughts on how the international media is framing this story compared to what we were actually seeing on the ground here in the community? Now, I know this has just been a 2-week period, but I'm really interested to hear your perspective in the comments. What are your thoughts on how if you've read the international stories, maybe you haven't. Maybe this is the first time you're hearing this is made international news, and now you're out there searching for it and looking for it on a separate screen right now. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? Yeah, thank you, Liza, for sharing that. Absolutely. We'll talk more about that. So, Liza, once again, almost right on cue, what are you personally doing, if anything? Maybe not just today. What have you been doing to be safe? Are you currently using, we use an app called Life 360 on our phones. My wife and I use that. It's not a matter of trust, it's a matter of safety. And Life 360 does a good job of saying, not only where somebody is, also what's their phone battery status, because frequently if you lose tracking on someone and you get nervous because, oh my gosh, their phone has died, you can actually see that. You can see they've made it somewhere safety. So we use Life 360. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form. I just use them, especially when on road trips. Also, and I honestly, keep the discussion going. I know I'm not pointing out every single comment out here, but you guys keep the discussion going. Are you using PIN verification on Uber? Do you know about this? This is something that, my wife points out, that you have the option on Uber to use a PIN verification. Is this the actual driver? I see Julia Sanchez did point out the 2 guys found on Plaza Caracol. Is it connected? I don't know. That is part of the violence that we've seen here of late, and it's true. It's absolutely true. But also, while debating these things, let's also talk about and share tips about what you do to be safe, not only during these times, but anytime, when you're traveling. And it's not just Mexico, it's everywhere, So again, I talked about Life 360. I talked about PIN verification on Uber. You might have other things to share as well. I see your comment there, Star, as well. I know I'm not talking about every comment made, but this is the interactive part of the show. Please feel free to continue sharing, as this is probably one of the most important shows I've had. So with that, I don't have more on that topic right now, but that doesn't mean you need to stop talking about that topic. Let's keep it interactive. Let's continue to talk about it, and let's keep it real. Puerto Vallarta Real News. You see that I don't cover every story that's sent to me. I don't cover every, a lot of people send me links from Facebook and they say, hey, look at this. But if I don't trust and have a lot of faith in that news organization, there are a lot of clickbait type news things. So I really do try to be careful of that. So let me show that slide again. I'm sorry I didn't get back to it right away. But this is the slide I want to show you here. Give me 1 second here to bring that up into a big screen. So again, these are the facts as I laid them out. I meant to put this on the big screen a little bit earlier, but these are the facts as I found them. It might seem like a small list, but this is what we know, and this is what is verifiable out there right now as the investigation continues. Okay. So keep the conversation going. I really appreciate it. I don't know much about the guys in Estapa right now. I'm sorry to say that, Pam. But again, there's so much news. There's so much stuff coming across. I can only share what I can validate. All right. So we could spend probably the entire show on this topic, and you guys can continue to talk about that as much as you want. But I do want to move forward a little bit, as it seems hard to go from that story right into like, oh, the airport's hot. But we do have to keep moving forward with the show. All right, so again, hot airport. Let's talk about that. So right now, you may not have seen this warning. I took it and I translated it into English. So let me make that big for you. So again, the airport has said that there's a major modernization of the current terminal's climate control system. We talked about the new terminal and what they're doing yesterday, but that's going to be from the 25th to the 29th, and it involves replacing the outdated equipment with eco-friendly infrastructure. The upgrades is part of the 2025 to 2029 Master Development Plan. And they are putting a lot of pesos into this, but the net for travelers right now is because the teams are physically substituting the old air conditioning units with new ones inside the terminal. You may experience a bit of outage. You may be a little bit warm. They are reporting that there are auxiliary fans being added, ventilation setups, along free hydration, also some free hydration systems within the airport and high traffic areas. So the net is if you're traveling out or in the next few days, please do dress appropriately with breathable clothes, hydrate. It's going to be hot in there as well. Continue with the comments. I also appreciate the feedback there. Thank you again, Liza. Captain Marina has definitely some opinions and strong opinions about that as well, for sure. Okay, moving into a lighter topic. Let's talk a little bit. I am going to do a coffee cam really quick because it's part of the show. I know it doesn't fit the vibe completely, but let's just have a cheers to each other. Let's keep each other safe out there. Let's not be afraid to ask somebody for a ride or to track their location. Again, get that Life 360 app. I think it's going to really help out and just kind of, keep you, feeling, yeah, it is necessary. Thank you very much. And the PIN verification. Thank you, Dwight, for saying that. It is a very good idea. Thanks, Dwight, for joining the show this morning. I think that's a great one to really verify. I mean, what were we told as kids? Never get in the car, the milk truck, or the van with strangers. What do we do as a society now? We are always getting in with strangers, whether they be a taxi, whether they be an Uber, a Lyft, whatever it may be. We ride with strangers a lot, and it definitely keeps you on your toes. Now, pepper spray, I'm not 100% sure is legal in Mexico, but you do you. I'm not the legal police. I'm just the news guy. All right. So with that, so yesterday we talked about Puerto Vallarta's 108th anniversary this weekend. We plan to be there, at least for some of it. I'm looking forward to the air show. But it also got me thinking again about personal safety, because during the Pride Festival, wow, we all saw like all the stories about people who were getting pickpocketed, people that I know personally had their phones stolen, their wallets stolen, they lost all their stuff. So let's talk about how to be safe, not only for the 108th anniversary, but also how to be safe just in general and watching out. We'll get to that one in a minute. Here we go. We'll get to Barry in a minute. Don't you worry. So let's talk about this. I'll make this on the big screen here in a minute, but let me talk to you first. So first of all, these might be basic things for you that you already know about, but having traveled the world, these are the things that I always keep in mind when in large crowds. And this is far from the worst place on earth. I think Paris at the Eiffel Tower might have been the worst place for pickpockets for sure. So with that, I'll put that up in a minute, but I do want to keep the chat going on the front here. Thank you, Star, for that. So first of all, I want to mention the front pocket rule. So never keep your wallet or phone in your back pocket. Move them to your front pocket. Try to avoid checking. Now, here's one that you might not know. Try to avoid checking that pocket over and over. Like touching your pocket over and over. Is my money there? Is my money there? Because really all that's doing is it's tipping off thieves and potential pickpockets that you've got something valuable in that pocket. Secondly, reposition your bags. In crowded markets, buses, or busy walkways, swing your backpack, purse, crossbody bag around to the front of your pocket, as Star mentioned a minute ago. Hold it against your chest, keep your arm draped over it. Just, try not to be super obvious, but at the same time, this is going to keep your things protected. Matter of fact, I'll bring up the big screen here for a minute. Maybe you can read that just a little bit more, but I'm going to read it to you anyways. Zippers and fasteners. So pickpockets look for easy openings. Use bags with heavy-duty zippers rather than magnetic snaps. And for extra security in high-risk areas, consider using a small carabiner, a paper clip, or something that you can utilize to, to keep that thing shut. So yeah, even Eric, I see you over there. You've been pickpocketed here. It's very professional. Even if you think you're ready for it, we'll talk about it. So how to recognize common distraction scams. So pickpockets almost always work in teams of 2 or 3. One person creates a distraction. Another person then, quietly dips into your pockets, and just watch out for them. So there's a lot of scams out there, but let's cover just a few of them today. And again, I know this is much longer than a 20-minute episode today. This is not the norm if you're a first-time viewer. Usually we're 15 to 20. First of all, the accidental spill or something getting spilled onto you. Someone bumps into you and actually spills coffee, mustard, or water in your clothes as they profusely apologize and even help to try wipe it off of you. Their partner is cleaning out your pockets. If this happens, firmly wave them away and check your belongings immediately, and do not accept the cleanup or the, any help in any way. It seems counterintuitive, but you got to be careful, especially if you're at Walmart, Sam's, or a location like the festival this weekend. Also be wary of the helpful stranger. I know people in Mexico are very, very nice, and we want to be considerate of that. But if anyone who approaches you aggressively to point out dirt on your back, offer unsolicited directions, or point out dropped money you may have dropped on the ground, this is probably an area where you need to be wary of what's going on. And lastly is a very common one. This is the bottleneck squeeze. This happens at transit doors, narrow market aisles, or escalators. The first accomplice will suddenly stop dead in front of you, pretending to drop keys or to stumble, and cause you to bump into them. In the sudden crowding and confusion, the second accomplice behind you goes into your pockets, probably bumping into you, which seems natural because you bumped into the person in front of you, and boom, there goes your stuff. Lastly, this one's a little bit more on the high-tech side, but the digital and financial safeguards are the dummy wallet. If you are traveling through high-risk areas, consider carrying a cheap decoy wallet in your back pocket with a few expired cards, a small amount of cash. We do that. We've got extra wallets sitting in our safe that we take on trips. And if you ever target or pickpocket, then grab the dummy one without actually grabbing your real valuables. Okay, I'll put this up for one more minute. Lastly, not quite lastly, but almost lastly, RFID protection. A lot of pickpockets use digital scanners to read your cards. A lot of wallets out there and pocketbooks have RFID blocking. Look for that little sign on the item. Never carry all our cash and credit cards and ID in one place. Leave a backup somewhere and emergency cards left in the room. And lastly, or almost lastly, I keep saying that, positional awareness. At the ATM, cover your PIN. Don't let anyone stand close to you. Lock the door behind you if you can. Watch for crowding. Don't accept help at the ATM. Again, it could be a scam. And last but not least, I promise you this time, don't hang your purse, your jacket. We see so many videos of this over a chair in a public cafe or restaurant. Keep it on you. Keep it on your lap. Keep it tight to you. Don't leave your phone sitting out on the table. It's just begging to be taken. Begging. So there you go. So there's a couple odd things. You might know a lot of these things. If you've got any other tips, please do share them on the comments or in the live section of this show. Oh, well, that was a lot of what I would consider a very serious episode. I do appreciate your interaction. Again, if you're a first-time viewer, this isn't the vibe of my normal show. It's a little more fun, a little more upbeat, but right now things are a little more serious. I appreciate those out there that are sending me information and sending me stories. Again, I try to vet those the best I can. If they're not shown on the show, it's just because I haven't vetted them yet, or maybe we need to get a little more information on that. So tomorrow I'll be back with a more normal, and depending on what the news is, PVRN, Puerto Vallarta Real News, a bit more Coffee Cam, a bit more fun, a few more jingles. But with that, let's be safe out there. Let's keep an eye on each other. Let's all try to keep ourselves safe, and let's also try to protect ourselves from, again, I use this word over and over, and I'm not using it in a derogatory nature, but let's watch out for the clickbait out there. It bleeds, it leads. I've been in media. That was what I did in university. I was radio, television, and film. And yes, the headline serial killer Puerto Vallarta is going to draw you in. And I'm not saying there isn't one, but I am saying that the media is going to use that to their advantage, and they are going to try to drive that to get people to click on the news. Okay, with that, I hope you found a lot of great information today. We'll talk again. This conversation doesn't need to end right now. Feel free to chat on the Facebook page, in the comments, wherever you feel like it. And so with that, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining what I would consider a very special episode. And thank you for being interactive and sharing your thoughts as well. We'll see you tomorrow on Puerto Vallarta Real News.